Hola clase, en esta lección vamos a aprender cómo usar los objetos directos e indirectos en una oración. Hello class, today we are going to learn how to use direct and indirect object pronouns in one single sentence, otherwise known as double object pronouns. Before we begin with the presentation, please be sure to go into your Google Classroom and find the notes that have been posted there to accompany this presentation. You're going to need the notes to fill in the necessary information. On our previous lesson, we learned how to use direct object pronouns. Let's review. First, let's look at the direct object pronouns. Lo, la, los, las. Lo is used for masculine singular. La is used for feminine singular. Los is used for masculine plural, and las is used for feminine plural. The direct object pronoun is simply a pronoun that replaces the object of a sentence. Let's take a look at the sentence. Yo cocino la cena. Cocino is the verb. La cena is the object. I cook the food. Cook is the verb, the food is the object. La cena is feminine singular, which means that for la cena, we will replace the object with la. The direct object pronoun for la cena is la. Okay? If we were to rewrite the sentence, we would say, yo la cocino. Remember that the direct object pronoun has to go in front of the verb. So we have to change the direct object pronoun into the front of the verb. Yo la cocino. If you were to say the sentence in English, you would say, I cook the food. I cook it. Right? I cook the food. I cook it. If someone were to ask you in English who cooked the food, you will most likely answer, I cooked it. This is the same principle in Spanish. Now that we have reviewed the direct object pronouns, let's review the indirect object pronouns. What are the indirect object pronouns? Indirect object pronouns are me, te, le, nos, os, les. If you remember from Spanish 1, these are the same pronouns we use for the verb gustar. The indirect object answers the question to who or for whom. The indirect object pronoun me answers for me or to me. The indirect object pronoun te answers for you or to you. The indirect object pronoun le answers for him, for her, or to him, to her. The indirect object pronoun nos answers for us or to us. Okay? The indirect object pronoun os answers for vosotros. The indirect object pronoun les answers for them. Let's take a look at an example. Yo cocino para mi familia. I cook for my family. Cocino is the verb. Mi familia is the indirect object. Who are you cooking for? Your family. Okay? The indirect object pronoun for mi familia is les. Right? Mi familia is a plural because you're talking about. If we were to rewrite this sentence using the indirect object pronoun, we would say yo les cocino. Right? I cook for them. Okay. Les is the indirect object pronoun. So what happens when direct object pronouns and indirect object pronouns come together? In a sentence, the indirect object pronoun comes before the direct object pronoun because indirect object pronouns usually are replacing people, and people come first. Okay? If we look at the sentence, ellos compran un regalo para mí. Right? Regalo is the object of the sentence. For whom is the gift for? Para mí, for me. Ellos compran un regalo para mí. They buy a gift for me. Okay, so the object is un regalo and they're buying the gift for me. When we rewrite the sentence using both the indirect and direct object pronouns, ellos me lo compran. Okay? They buy it for me. Now let's look at the second sentence. Yo compro las papas para ti. I buy the potatoes for you. What am I buying? The potatoes. Whom am I buying it for? For you. Okay? Las papas is feminine plural. So the direct object pronouns will be las. Te, it is the indirect object pronoun. If we were to rewrite the sentence, remember that people come first. Yo te las compro. Okay, buying the potatoes for you. It is important to note that the indirect object pronouns le and les change to se before the direct object pronoun lo, la, los, and las. Let's look at an example. Ellos compran un regalo para Ana. They buy a gift for Ana. Un regalo is a direct object of the sentence. For whom is it? For Ana, para Ana. Ana is the indirect object of the sentence. Un regalo is masculine singular. Therefore, the direct object pronoun is lo. Ana is the indirect object pronoun in this sentence. And since it's for her, we would replace the indirect object with the indirect object pronoun le. Now we know that the indirect object pronoun is le and the direct object pronoun is lo. Remember, people come first, so le has to go in front of lo. Since le has to go in front of lo, we know that le changes into a se whenever it is in front of the direct object pronouns lo. Okay. Ellos se lo compran. The reason why this change happens is because if we have le in front of lo, the sentence will read ellos le lo compran. It kind of clashes. This is why we need to change the L into a S and make it se. Ellos se lo compran. It keeps the pronunciation flowing. Okay, now let's take a look at the second sentence. Yo compro las papas para ellos. Las papas is the object. For whom? Para ellos. Les. Okay, les is the indirect object. Las is the direct object. Remember that les in front of las changes into a se. Okay. Yo se las compro. I buy it for them. Now that you have learned how to use the indirect and direct object pronouns, it is your turn to practice. Please refer back to your notes and rewrite the sentences listed on the Practiquemos section using the indirect and direct object pronouns. Once you have completed the sentence, we will review them in class. Adios!